How's everybody living on this lovely evening, ladies and gentlemen? I'm so glad to have you guys tuned in to me right now. I hope you guys have had a great weekend so far. Family, I'm gearing up for microphone check. It's coming in a few weeks, man. The clock is ticking. It's coming. The hit movie, or soon to be hit movie, it's not even out yet, but it's going to be a hit. Microphone check. How many? 1, 2, 3. 3 weeks. We got 3 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming on the week of the 20th, Memorial Day weekend, at a theater near you. If you have not gotten your tickets, you better get them before they sell out, because the theaters are selling out all over the country. There was one showing in New York that sold out. The second one is almost sold out. New York is going to be off the chain. The Chicago one is about to sell out because a lot of folks in Chicago are going. I just did a radio interview. Shout out to Brother Matt out there in Chicago. So those Chicago tickets are going fast. So I want to see everybody in the building or in the buildings Memorial Day weekend or that whole week, because the first showing is in New Orleans the 22nd, Wednesday the 22nd. That's when the first showing is. So New Orleans, you're going to go see the movie first. So you guys go to microphonecheck.com, because this is a timely film. We got a big hip hop battle going on right now, and there's a lot of people speaking on the culture. There's a lot of good gatekeeping going on. A lot of people are calling out the vultures. Vlad, if you check out my last broadcast, I talked about that. How a lot of people called out Vlad and other people's vulturing. Notice you got a lot of these other people chiming in on the Kendrick Drake beef. And a lot of us are like, we're kind of gritting our teeth a little bit, because we feel a certain way when these other groups start putting their 2 cents in, because they're not coming from the perspective we're coming from. You dig? We like a good battle back and forth. Generally we want to keep it civil. Generally, we want to keep it on wax. When these other groups get involved, they'll just try to milk it to the end. They'll take it someplace they don't need to be. So we have a side eye for a lot of these other groups hopping into our conversations, and that's why the whole thing with Vlad blew up in his face. And did y'all see? I posted up Vlad's tweet. Vlad put up a tweet earlier where he's explaining, "Hey, I didn't, I wasn't gonna tell on nobody. He's trolling me, and I'm trolling her back. Stop, Vlad." Well, you know what? Let me find the actual tweet he put up. Let me read that, because yeah, he bussy popping and splaining right now. Let me read the actual tweet that DJ Vlad put up. Hold on 1 second. Let me just. I'll just read the actual tweet. I won't even paraphrase. So Vlad put up a splaining tweet. What was the tweet? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Come on, man. Okay, where is it? Okay, I hate when I can't find nothing at the last minute. Hold on. Okay, here it is. So this is Vlad's tweet. And since it's Monday, let me clear up the air, and I'll state that I never had any intention of filing a complaint to Princeton for former Professor Morgan Jenkins, saying that white people aren't allowed to comment on Kendrick Lamar's music. Yeah. She trolled me, and I trolled her back. At the end of the day, and it was creating an interesting discussion about race relations in America. I will be discussing it further in my future interviews. So he's going to milk it. He's going to use this as content. So he's kind of backpedaling, talking about he had no intentions on filing a complaint. But as you guys know, how many times did he tag Princeton this weekend when talking about that sister? He kept tagging Princeton University in his damn tweet. So he was dry snitching his little ass off. You see? So people feel away with these other outsiders trying to jump into our culture. Because Vlad said he hopped in the conversation. For those who don't know, people were talking about the Kendrick and Drake beef. That's been a hot topic, for the past week. So Vlad gonna put his little 2 cent in. Well, the last Kendrick record, I don't like the way it was mixed. I don't like. I think the mix could be a little better. And people are like, man, shut up. Shut up, Vlad. The mix is fine on that song, all right? Ain't nothing wrong with the song. Vlad just wanted to be a contrarian. And people kind of low key called him out, man. Like, Vlad, chill out, man. This is black business. We don't need a contrarian opinion. You're just saying stuff just to be in the damn conversation. The mix of that song is fine, man. People are grooving to that song. Didn't they play that song at the NBA game today? There's a game. They played the song during the commercial. So that song is all over the place, dude. They're playing the song during NBA games. The clubs are lit up. That song is fine. That's a hit song. It's the #1 song on iTunes. You dig? I hate when outsiders try to come in and give their little unsolicited ass opinions about something just so they can just kind of show some form of fake dominance. Like, it's okay, but it's not okay until I say it's okay. Stop it. And he got called out. He got called out like, man, get your ass about a black business. Reverse racism. I'm going to call Prince. I'm just waiting on him to start hollering about some anti-Semitism. That I'm telling y'all, that's going to be up the pipeline. Y'all watch out for that. I'm just waiting on Vlad to pull a Michael Rappaport. See, Michael Rappaport pulled that old hoe-ass move, throwing that anti-Semitism on black folks. And nobody was even paying attention to him. Remember when Michael Rappaport did that? He started throwing that anti-Semitism towards us because we're not saying anything about the Israel-Palestine thing. We weren't in it. We're like, hey, that ain't us. Hey, look, this anti-Semitism, the black community, we watching you. We're watching you. Like, well, keep watching, nigga. You see? But, we're gatekeeping, man, and that's a great thing. We should have been gatekeeping a long time ago, man. We should have been gatekeeping a long time ago. And um, a lot of these other folks jumping into the conversation, we feel a certain way about it because, again, when other people get into conversations about black issues or something between black folks, again, we don't want them to take it somewhere funky. They did that with the Biggie and Tupac thing. Remember that, and I talked about this the other day. That thing got escalated from Vibe magazine. I will always put my finger on the face of Vibe. Vibe magazine helped escalate that nonsense. A white publication with a bunch of tethers working up there. That's another thing. I think the dude who wrote the article, they had one of their tethers write that damn East-West beef article promoting that nonsense, which it wasn't no East-West beef, but you got white media corporations pressing that narrative and it was creating tension. And we see how that thing ended up, man. So having these others in our conversations, we I get where we want to have them just kind of sit it out. We don't really want your opinion on this like that. Yeah. And a lot of us, some of the OGs and some of the riders, we're on standby making sure things don't get funky with this. We want everything on wax. We want everything fun. We want everything entertaining. Um, we're making sure nothing spills over and gets crazy. So we're not letting the Vlads and all of these other people put their little funky 2 cents in because they love to see carnage and devastation and they like that kind of stuff. That's content for them. They like instigating stuff and just keep it instigating so it can spill over in the streets. And cats getting locked up and their interviews being used in court cases and all. No, that's not. No, 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 no. That ain't hip hop. That ain't hip hop, dude. Again, I always use the example when I had Nipsey on my show one time. We did Ism Radio and we had Nipsey up there just on some. Street love shit. I wouldn't let Nipsey get into conversations about things that would turn around and potentially harm him. So when I saw the conversation kind of going somewhere where it's touching on some kind of beef or anything incriminating, I would change the subject. I wouldn't even let my dude get in a conversation where he's going to put himself in a situation there where it's going to come back and get him. Um, Even other cats I've had on before, street dudes. When I had Spider Loke on, I wouldn't let Spider talk about anything incriminating. When I had um, Bride Dog on there, OG Crip on there, I'm not going to let him talk about anything incriminating. You see, because I know how things can spill over in the streets real quickly. So I wouldn't even put them in a situation like that. But the Vlads and others. Hey, hey, hey. So when you did those robberies, what kind of gun did you use? Did you have? Was there a getaway driver? And to be fair, people can ask what they want to ask. Because if you're dumb enough to sit there and answer, which a lot of fools do, they get on Vlad's show and get real comfortable with Vlad and let Vlad talk them into an indictment. Yeah, because we've seen several cases where Vlad's interviews are used in courts. So I put partial blame on Vlad, but hey, some cats are dumb enough to sit there and talk. And again, look, I've been on Vlad before. They took it down because I didn't like the way Vlad operated. Vlad tried to do some little slimy shit that I didn't like. And when I was interviewed by Vlad was asking me a whole bunch of street questions. And hey, I don't talk street business with non-street people. Yeah. And he started asking me about street stuff. I'm not talking about that with you. I don't talk about street business. You do? Well, I don't talk about that really, period, but especially with no non-street folks, especially on no camera. I don't talk no street business. So let's talk about something constructive. Let's talk about my new movie. Yeah, you dig? It's that damn simple. I ain't trying to impress no damn body. But y'all better understand, when people come into our culture, they want to exploit it and kill it. When people talk about a vulture, what the hell is a vulture? Think about a vulture. When people talk about a vulture, what does a vulture do? Vulture preys on rotten, dying corpses. They prey on something that's dying, and that's what these culture vultures do. They kill the culture and then prey off the carcass. They sit here and instigate things, create death scenarios, create scenarios where there's violence, create scenarios where people are victimized, and then they prey off the carcasses of the victims like a vulture. They're literally vultures. You did? And that's a problem. That's why it's very important for us to gatekeep the culture. We're doing that. And it has to be supported, because here's another thing, family. Um, the Vlads and people like that, and people in the dominant white society, I would give them credit. They're very good at documenting history. They're very good at documenting history. And I wish more of us would do that. The problem is, when we try to document history, we don't get the right, well, a lot of people don't get the right funding. And then you have, you know, duckmouth Negroes who complain that people want to get some type of compensation for documenting the history. They think everything's supposed to be done for free. Look, when you document history, that's why historical societies and these think tanks that focus on history, and these archaeologists and all, these people get gazillions of dollars, because the dominant white society, they understand how important documenting history is, understanding and controlling the historical narrative. Because the thing is, they want to control the narrative. There's a reason why they have gazillions of dollars that go into historic projects. Because when you can control the history, you can control who finds out what happens in history. Like when we do our films, and we do our documentaries and we do our research, a lot of Black history It is deliberately hidden, and I mean hidden for real. They hide that stuff, dude. They get millions of dollars to hide a lot of shit. I'm telling you, our stuff is so hidden. And the dominant society, they know our history more than we do. They know it better than we do. They know how to hide certain things in certain museums and certain. They hide stuff big time. Um, there was a guy, a white guy named Von Wuthenau. Y'all hear me talk about him all the time. He's one of the few white dudes who was a historian who actually told the damn truth. And y'all check out Von Wuthenau. I think it's named Alexander von Wuthenau. He's a German white man who came over here to live in Mexico. I think Clyde Winters was one of his um, apprentices who studied under him. But this German white man went down to Mexico, and because he's white, he has access to a lot of white collectors and white museums and white archaeologists. And this white man created all of these um, figurines and trinkets, thousands of years old, of black people in the Americas. And he has a couple of books on it. And one of his books is Unexpected Faces in Early America, and it's a bunch of figurines of ancient American, not African, ancient American statues and dolls and carvings and sculptures of black folks with big lips, big noses, look just like us over here. And in his book, he talks about how the Smithsonian and all of these people hide all of this stuff and how they reprimand other historians and archaeologists when they try to expose some of these um, black artifacts that are thousands of years old over here. They get reprimanded if they try to expose this. So this is what I'm saying, how they spend millions of dollars to hide a lot of history, and the white people who try to tell the truth, they start getting in trouble. You dig? They get punished for being off code. You're not supposed to be telling. Don't teach them niggas that. Don't teach these Negroes that this is their damn land. Don't you teach them that. It's another guy, Constantine Rafinesque, another white man who was an archaeologist, and this is in the 1800s. Um, Historian, and he said too, hey, you know what? And he was from France, but he came over here. He said, hey, guess what, guys? Guess what I found out? The Aboriginal people here were a bunch of Negroes. They were like, shut your ass up and get out of here. Then they start writing about how crazy he was. Oh, this white man is crazy. He's white, but he's crazy as cat shit. That's another thing. When they start saying white folks are crazy, they said that about John Brown when John Brown had that raid and he wanted to kill other white folks for slavery. Oh, this white man is crazy. How come you don't want all this white privilege? You see? So these people spend a lot of money hiding the history. There's big money in hiding the history, and they create whole new scientific practices. We talked about this in Hidden Colors. They created a whole scientific practice called Egyptology. Think about that. They got a whole practice called Egyptology. And what do they do with Egyptology? They just study the history of ancient Egypt. There's billions of dollars into the study of an ancient African society. And basically, most of what they do is hide stuff. Most of what they do is hide the truth. Yeah. It's all about hiding stuff. We know about the stories of them repainting images and hieroglyphics over there, painting black images white. We've heard about this. We talked about this in the Hidden Colors films. So them controlling history is very important. It's very, very important. That's why they put a lot of money into it. And they understand why in the dominant white society, why it's important to document history. So that's why a lot of them come around. And most of the films that we've seen on our culture, like hip hop, most of the films are produced by white people. Most of the hip hop films are produced by white people. Most of the publications are white people. a lot of the big name so-called hip hop blogs, like Vlad is a big platform. You know? And the thing is, the problem is when black folks try to do the same thing, there's a coon gene in a lot of people who try to denigrate black people for doing the same thing. When black people want to have integrity and preserve the history and preserve the narrative, well, nigga, why you, nigga, why you got to make all that money? Yeah, it gets into that. Nobody questions how much money Vlad makes. Vlad makes a gazillion dollars, dude. Vlad makes big money. They don't question the white publications and how much money they make off black culture. But when we start doing it, when black people start creating an industry and making money off our culture, which is what we should be doing, we should capitalize on our own culture. We get these dumb mushmouth niggas. Well, that's you pimping the community doing that. That pimping the community. We get mushmouth plantation talk. Yeah, like tonight. Tonight, they got a big gala at the Met Museum in New York. The biggest party in New York. The party of the year happens at the Met Museum. Every A-list celebrity is there right now. They're up there partying their ass off at the Met Museum. They have a big party every year, the biggest party of the year. The Met Museum, it's an art museum. They make a grip. It's a history museum. Now, when we have some at the Hidden History Museum, what we get? A bunch of tethers and mushmouth. That's the club. Y'all up there partying at a museum? God damn, that pimping the community and shit. So, fam, we gotta start scooching the mushmouth, plantation minded, and also the tether minded folks up out the mix. You dig? So that things can get done. We need to preserve things. We need to have historic markers where we celebrate and enjoy ourselves and document the history and the culture. We need to have that. We're supposed to have that because everybody else is doing it and they're doing it in an exploitive way. Now, it's going back to what I was saying about hip hop documentaries. Most of hip hop films and documentaries, they're produced by white people. So this is why we keep getting these lying ass narratives in it. I just did an interview today because I'm doing a lot of press for the new movie, and it was a sister interviewing me today, and we were talking about this. How she's like, well, what makes your documentary different than another other hip hop documentaries? And I said, well, this is one of the few that's produced from top to bottom, produced and financed by black folks. This I did a microphone check is produced by the grassroots, you guys, and again I take my hat off to you guys for getting down with the crowdfunding and me, and this is a black produced film, so we're telling the story of hip hop from a 100% foundational black American perspective, which is the real perspective because we're the creators of it. Most hip hop documentaries you see are produced by white people or Asian people or white Hispanics. And they produce a lot of the hip hop books. In a lot of these books, they will have some truth in it and then they'll sprinkle them with lies. Again, it was one guy named Jeff Chang. He wrote a very popular book. I want to say it's called Can't Stop, Won't Stop. I think that's the name of the book, documenting the history of hip hop. And I think that's the name of his book, but I know it's Jeff Chang. He was a journalist. And I think Jeff wrote for Vibe, by the way. I think he worked for the Source as well. So, and again, the Source magazine, is Dave Mays, a white man. But I give props to the Source. The Source had me in the Source magazine a few times, so they represent it. But Jeff Chang in his book Can't Stop, Won't Stop, he put a blatant lie in there. He said that Coke LaRock was Jamaican. You know? And Coke LaRock is not Jamaican at all. And I think he knows that. Coke LaRock has never said he was Jamaican. And a lot of those books would say little stuff like that, claim certain people were Jamaican and claim certain people were immigrants and they brought Jamaican toasting over from Jamaica and all that. Man, those are blatant lies that these people would put in these books, man. That's why I can't wait for y'all to get the real deal. because when they do these hip hop documentaries and white people are doing it, they know the truth. See, again, they put money into controlling the history so they can hide stuff. That's why in these hip hop documentaries that you've seen, they'll talk about Kool Herc had a party in '73, and then they'll skip to the '90s. They'll just skip the whole '70s. They might skip to the '80s and start talking about Run DMC and LL, and but they skip over a whole decade. You know, they do that in a lot of those documentary films, and then they'll start talking about the Puerto Ricans who came later, and then act like they were the creators. So it's important for us to get the truth out there, and that's what we're doing with this new film, man. Microphone check. This is going to be a bombshell, man. We getting the truth out there. Why y'all think so many people were pissed off? We were getting this film going. People were trying to sabotage it. People were doing all types of weird ass stuff, and there were articles being written, and they were getting articles taken down. Yeah, people were real butthurt. The movie ain't even out yet, so they're gonna be real butthurt when the movie come out because we're controlling the narrative. It's very important that we control the narrative, family. Speaking of the Met Gala, I saw Kim Kardashian up there. Kim was doing her thing. She was at a roast. There was a Tom Brady roast, and boy, they were booing her. Did y'all see where they were booing Kim? Kim just got up and they just started booing her. Now at this roast, there were a lot of black jokes. These white comics, boy, they sit on them black jokes. They can't wait to do them black jokes. There's a lot of them black jokes being thrown around. They threw some black jokes at her, and but when she got to the podium, boy, they just started booing her for no reason. Just start booing her for no reason. But we know what it is. We know what it is. Kim Kardashian being with them brothers. That the white supremacist male, they feel a certain way about that. So that's what that was about. That was because she's laying up with all them brothers. So the white supremacist males, they were that was just them getting on code with each other to throw shade at her. But that is what it is. Let me get some of the calls in here. Damn, we got a lot of folks in here. And again, while I'm talking, man, y'all need to go to microphonecheck.com and get your tickets for the film Microphone Check coming to a theater near you. What's up,
Black
Nikki?
people's culture is crime. Black people's culture is crime.
Okay. And what else is our culture? That's not offensive, by the way. What else is our culture? Okay. See, okay. This is another thing with the white supremacists. What that little troll stuff y'all say, that don't bother us. White supremacists, that doesn't bother us. Because we know that's a projection. That's you projecting your degenerate culture. That doesn't bother us at all. Let's get Max in here. Max, what's going on, brother? Max? Where you at, Max? Turn your microphone on, Max. All right, Max doesn't know how to use a phone correctly.
BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy.
That's very good, Max. Very, very good. So, what's on your mind, Max, besides BBL's Drizzy or Drizzy's BBL? Max?
That's all I'm thinking about.
Okay, come back. Give us something better than that. Okay, so now that your failed attempt of trolling, that fell off. Now, what's on your mind? You want to chime in on the conversation? What do you think about the conversation we're having tonight?
I don't even know what the conversation is.
Okay, you just wanted to be mediocre and lame for no reason at all. Okay, let's get Jacob in here. Let's get Jacob. All right, let's get Jacob in the building. All right, Jacob. Where you at, Jake?
Hello.
What's up, Jacob?
Hey, I had a controversial question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
What do you think a Aryan is? Where do you think Aryan people come from?
The area of Iran. That's what Iran means. Iran is a variation of the word Aryan, so they came from the Middle East initially, according to some historic documents.
Do you believe in Atlantis? And do you think there's any archaeological evidence of it?
I don't know. I don't know. It could be possible. This is an old planet. So what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? What does Aryan and Atlantis have anything to do with whatever?
I don't know. I was just talking about race. I don't know about Chinese people.
I didn't say Chinese. I said Aryan and Atlantis. You brought up Aryans and Atlantis, and I'm trying to see what.
I thought you said the price of tea in China.
Right, but it doesn't have to do with the price of tea in China. It doesn't have to do with anything. So what are you talking about?
Well, I was just going over like some of the racial thoughts, and I just wanted your perspective on it. I guess you're creating a movie on some history.
I've already done that. I've created several movies. So you're a European guy. Where's your family from in Europe, by the way?
I actually have a heraldic Anglo-Saxon name.
Okay. No, I didn't ask you that, sir. I asked where's your family from in Europe?
Cornwall specifically, Anglo-Saxon.
Sir, where in Europe? Where?
Cornwall.
Okay. The Anglo Saxons, that was a people from England. So you're people from England, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you in England now? You're not in England now. So are you sure you're from Cornwall? Because when did your people get over here to the United States?
I could not tell you.
Yeah, you can tell me.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Well, generally, yeah, somewhere, somewhere between like 1400s and now.
So your family's been here that long?
Um, no, actually, yeah, not 1400s, but 1700s.
Okay. Sound like you're just making up as you go along. You're just saying stuff. So, let me ask you this: since we got a guy here who's white, how do you feel about reparations for foundational Black Americans?
I think it's logistically implausible, and
How logistically? How so? How so?
well, uh, it would be hard to keep track of who was a slave,
Not
and
at all. No, no, it won't. All we got to do is go back to the 1870 censuses. That's all we got to do, and to find out, you can find out who foundational Black Americans are in 1 week. You can find out who all of us are in 1 week. If you go back to the 1870 censuses, that's who foundational Black Americans are. They're descendants of slaves.
that's interesting. How many of you guys are there?
About 40 million.
Okay, well, I would say it's also logistically impossible because a lot of our tax dollars are going to a ton of different places that we don't understand, and the majority of the population doesn't understand that we're paying taxes through inflation. So
Hmm.
I think we have to get that under control before we delegate lost um, or compensation of for FBA.
Yeah. Well, no, if they give us the compensation that's needed, that will actually stimulate the economy, and foundational Black Americans would make the economy bounce back to a thriving metropolis. So that would actually help the economy because we're not foreigners and we wouldn't um, splurge the money into outside places, and the money would bounce here in the Americas, and that would stimulate the economy. That would be the smartest thing to do. And also, it would be a great way to atone for the anti Black racism, right?
I mean, if it, I was about to say something snarky. Yeah, well, I disagree because, like, okay, then let's just pay everyone a ton of money and it'll come back to us in America. Why don't we just pay
Now,
up?
Why would you just pay a ton of money to people who you're not owed money to? We're owed money. We're owed a debt. We're owed a debt.
Okay, but the other thing is a lot of people aren't taking into account like how it's easier for Black people to get into college or how they're paid through other means. And I hate to say it, but the BLM riots, I think there's a certain debt that's accrued with all that stuff, and I hate to say it, but the violence as well.
That the white supremacists perpetuate most of the violence and the damage that was done at the so-called BLM. It was white people doing that nonsense. Every video, the majority of the people were white who were burning up a lot of stuff and tearing up stuff. And that has nothing and that has nothing to do with the debt that's owed. I didn't burn nothing. And that has nothing to
okay, when you say the debt that's owed, are we going to look at who the slave owners were?
No, it's the United States government. It's the government that's complicit. We're not going after individual slave owners. It was the United States government that made it the law. We couldn't get out of slavery because the government, when we tried to escape from plantations, the U.S. Army and the U.S. government went after us. That's what the Seminole War was about. Black people were going down to Florida, and Jackson sent the military down there to get black people. So it was the government, the United States government, under the same Constitution. So when people talk about slavery being, oh, every country had slavery, it doesn't matter. This country enslaved us, made a lot of money off of it, and didn't pay us, and the debt is owed, right?
I mean, there's so many variables.
Not
Are
really.
you?
Not really. No. You did something. You made a gang of money from it. You didn't compensate the people. You compensate them. It's not a variable. Just do what's right. Do what you're supposed to do. All right? It's not hard at all. You did it for the Native Americans. And a lot of them ain't even real Native Americans. You got a bunch of $5 Indians pretending to be Native Americans, and they're getting compensated. You understand? Do it the same way. Do it the same way they do some of the red Native American tribes, right? How hard? It's not hard with them. Why would it be so hard for us?
Well, another thing is we're about to go to like Civil War, World War III.
Then hurry up and pay the money. So before we get there, that means you should pay the money faster.
All right. I just have one. We'll agree to disagree. I just have one more question though before I leave. Do you think the Phoenicians were like black, brown, or white, or what?
The original Phoenicians were, I think they were black people. They were people who would be classified as black today. Even over there in Europe, the original Europeans, the Grimaldi people, they were black people too.
Sorry, Grinaldi. Could you
Yeah,
spell that?
the Grimaldi people. They were the original inhabitants of Europe up there. These were black people with dreadlocked hair. Over there in Ireland, in early Ireland, there were black pygmies up there. There's a guy named David McRitchie, a white guy who wrote books in the 1800s who talked about this. He was a historian, and a lot of white people don't like to talk about his books. He wrote a book called Ancient and Modern Britons and talked about the early black people who were in Britain and Ireland and all of those places.
So does this mean, because obviously the Kohanim, like the Jews, were with the Phoenicians when they built Carthage? Does this mean the Jews were black?
Well, that's what the Nazis said. That's why that's the root of anti-Semitism. The root of anti-Semitism is anti-blackness. The reason why the dominant society had a problem with Jewish people is because they said they're not really white. They're really they're a race of Negroes. That's what Hitler said in Mein Kampf. He referred to Jewish people as a Negroid race. And a lot of other writers in Europe would always often refer to Jewish people as secret Negroes. That's why they had to kind of single them out so they couldn't sneak in black genes in Europe. Get a book by a white man called Hybrid, I think it's called Hybrid Hate. Check that book out. He talks about the history of how anti-blackness and anti-Semitism goes hand in hand, because the reason why they hate the Semites is because they have been perceived as mixed with black. Hybrid Hate. That's the name of the book. If you're Googling Hybrid Hate, check that book out.
Yeah, I just plugged it in. But what do you think? Do you think Jews are black?
You have black Jews and you have white Jews, and you even have white supremacist Jews. There are Jewish people who are white supremacists. So you have Jews now of many different races.
Well, no, I'm not saying the religion. I'm saying like the Israelites or the Hebrews.
Again, you have Jewish people of many different races. You got black people over in Israel coming in from Ethiopia and other places who are being discriminated against by white Jewish people. They're complaining about white supremacy. There's there were white supremacist Jews over here. You had people in the American Nazi Party who was Jewish, like Dan Burroughs and Frank Joseph. Look up those names. These were Jewish men who were part of the Nazi Party. They were blending in. So you have Jewish people of different races.
But I'm saying like 1000 BC with like King Solomon or King David. Were they all mixed race as well?
That I don't know. That I don't know. What do you think? What do you think?
You do not want to know what I think.
Oh, I do. Yes, I do. What do you think?
All right. I'll tell you. It's racist. All right. So, well, I just learned this from Robert Sepper. Are you familiar with him?
No, I'm not. But go ahead.
All right. I mean, I only want to say it because I'm in all black space, but I'll do you the favor and say
okay,
it.
Let's be clear. Your white supremacist views don't bother us because we're used to them. So yeah, you saying something, don't worry about it. We're fine. There's nothing y'all can say that's going to really shock us because we're used to white supremacy. But go ahead. No. What do you think about the history? What? Go ahead.
All right. So I think Aryans are people from Mount Ararat, and Ham, Shem, and Japheth were all white, and this is where Caucasian people come from.
Okay. So what? That's not so racist. What's so racist about that?
Well, because they brought, this is where I think white supremacy comes from. They brought animal domestication, they're for agriculture, they're for all civilization.
Oh, the white ones.
Yeah, the white people.
Okay. And the black people back then.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just learned this from Robert Sepper, and I'm saying black people weren't a part of the Bible at all.
Really? Black people weren't part of the Bible? When they talk about Egypt and all that stuff, black people weren't over in Africa?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Egyptians were white.
Really? Tell me more. Tell me more about these white Egyptians. How did white people
All
survive
right.
hot ass Egypt? Tell me how white people survived in hot Egypt. Tell me. And y'all can't survive over there now. But go ahead. How do y'all do that?
I think, well, I mean, aren't like most of the Jews white that are living in Palestine?
That's not Egypt, sir. That's not Egypt.
So we can survive in Palestine, but we can't survive in Egypt. Where's the parallel that we can survive in?
I mean, really, where you think white skinned people were in Egypt, in ancient Egypt?
Yes. Let's say.
Oh no. Okay. Where did they come from?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the whole story. Is like there was a Atlantis, and
No. Don't give me no science fiction. Let's just be practical and literal. Where did these white people in ancient Egypt come from? They had to come from somewhere. Are you saying that they were white indigenous African people? That would make no sense, sir.
well, I do think Berbers were indigenous.
But many of the Berbers were black. Berber is a language-based ideology or ethnicity. It's language-based. It's not a racial-based thing. Let's go back to the
Wait,
white. Let's go. No.
so
Don't. No. Let's go back to these white Egyptians. Okay, where did the white? Because Egypt is in Africa. Where did these white Africans come from? They had to come from somewhere. They couldn't be indigenous. It would make no sense.
why doesn't it make sense that I was saying the white Berbers are indigenous? So why couldn't the Egyptian white people be indigenous?
Yeah, white skinned people in Egypt, the the sun cancer would kill them off within a year. You couldn't survive. Those ancient Egyptians walked around with hardly any clothes on. White people couldn't survive. They didn't have suntan lotion back then. How could you survive that?
They,
The
they had a
skin
red
cancer.
ochre. That's why, like, the Phoenicians were called red, I believe, and that's why the Native Americans were called Redskins. They had red ochre, sorry, paint that they put on their bodies.
That wouldn't, no. They didn't put red paint on their bodies, sir. There were no white people in ancient Egypt, because you can't even say where they came from.
Well,
Why
I
would
mean, okay,
how could a white person be indigenous to Africa?
hold on. Let me ask you, where do any of us come from?
Let's slow down. Let's slow down. Yeah, everybody, the genesis of everybody is Africa, and they spread out to different places. But you happen to explain where these white skinned people came from. It wouldn't make any sense for them to be white skinned in Africa. How did that scientifically? How would that make sense?
Well, okay, I don't get. So you're saying they didn't have clothes back then, and that's the because I was like, if I go to Africa, I could survive a year there without getting skin cancer or wherever.
You
I
have
mean,
to be
right?
you have to be under an air conditioner. You have to go inside. Have I've been to Egypt before, sir. Even the Arabs over there, they don't really go out in the daytime like that, and they're covered up. That's why they have to wear all the burqas and all that stuff. They have to cover up. Why do you think people dress like that over there now?
Okay, can I ask you, were any of the Egyptians white?
No, when the Greco-Romans kind of invaded a little later, at the decline of Egyptian culture, they mixed in. They were basically a mixed race, but they weren't Anglo-white as we know it. Because when we talk about the Greco-Romans and those people, then y'all didn't consider them really white. Y'all try to take credit for Greco-Roman culture, but y'all really didn't consider them white until relatively recently, because you guys knew that they were basically a fixed mulatto race. But where are these Anglo whites? Where they come from? They had to come from somewhere, brother. Right?
Oh, correct. They had
Right.
to
Where
come
they?
from somewhere.
You didn't really think that out, did you? Hmm?
I I'm thinking about it right now, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, isn't there depictions of blue-eyed gods of the Egyptians?
No, it was some, like, the Egyptologists. They go there and start repainting stuff and then faking the funk. But no, there were no white Egyptian gods. It just didn't exist. There were no white Egyptians, brother.
Or have you ever heard like 80% of English people are related to Tutankhamun?
There were some Egyptians who went up into Europe. Um, I think they said Scotland is named after in the Egyptian princess Scotia, and you have some of the gypsies, which is a variation of the word Egyptian, that went up there into parts of Europe. But no, there are no European Egyptians, sir. That would make no sense. They were black
Can I
people. The Egyptians
can
were black.
I
Go ahead.
uh, can I ask you, what do you think the pyramid was? And have you like studied like the Fibonacci sequence and like the mathematics behind the pyramid?
Yeah, well, my thing, and I've been inside the pyramid. I've been inside of it. I've been up there and I've studied it. And, my thing is just getting the lie about the white Egyptians. We got to get that clear. Y'all can't be going around spreading these nonsensical lies that just scientifically don't make any sense. Y'all got to stop that. I understand y'all want to promote white supremacy, and this is what I talked about to my audience earlier about them wanting to control history so they can say little lies like what he's trying to pull. Now, this man right here, listen, as we talk to him, he knows good and well there were no white ancient Egyptians. He knows this, but he just hasn't figured out how to lie about it yet. because see, when we start breaking things down in a very simplistic manner, then they get stuck. I like to make things simple. When you make it simple, that's what makes it. That's what gets them stuck. You see. Now you know, Jacob, that the ancient Egyptians were black. Um, the Anglo whites, they didn't really have anything popping in Europe until way later. There was a bunch of barbarians running around in Europe. There were no white Egyptians doing anything. The dominant society, well, people we call white, didn't really get their shit together until the 1400s. All right, let's keep it real, and you know that, don't you?
Wait, who'd you say didn't get their stuff together till the
Um,
1400s?
the white supremacists. The white supremacists really didn't get it together until the 1400s. Right?
Have you I well, okay, so can I ask you this
Uh huh.
before I answer that?
Mm-hmm.
So have you studied like the supposed Aryan veneration in the Varna caste system in India?
Yeah,
Did they venerate white
I know,
people?
I know about the caste system there. I know about the caste system, the Aryan stuff in India, and they had a caste system. I know about that. I know about it. I know about it. And they still have a caste system over there now. I know about it.
But is it based on color?
It is based on color.
Okay, so when you say the white supremacists didn't get their stuff together till the 1400s, this is way back 1500 BC, during the Aryan migration. So they were white supremacists back then, but they didn't have their stuff together.
No, no, no. They weren't white. The Aryans, they had their little janky caste system, but it was pretty much localized because they didn't really spread out like that. Now, the white supremacists later, coming out of Spain, modern white supremacy as we know it originated in Spain. They were the ones who had the first blood quantum laws and all of this stuff. When the black Moors, because you mentioned the Berbers, many of the Berbers were black, and they were the Moors who went up into Europe. These were black people who went up there and saved the white supremacists because the white supremacists were dying off in Europe because of the plagues and the Dark Ages. And this is why I say they didn't really get themselves, the white supremacists didn't get themselves together until the 1400s. So that has nothing to do with the Aryans from or the caste system in India. Those are separate entities, right?
Possibly. I'm learning like all of us.
Right, right. Okay. All right, man. Well, thank you so much, Jacob. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Okay? Jacob's just throwing stuff out there. You see, yeah, that's how you deal with the white supremacists. You just gotta slow walk them a little bit. You just gotta slow walk the white supremacists and really simplify their argument. Now you know good and well wasn't no damn white Egyptians. Stop it. All you got to do is say, "Hey, where they come from? Huh? Huh? Nothing. Where did these white Egyptians come from? What about the Berbers, dude? Berbers, nothing. Explain to me where these white Egyptians came from. Y'all can't really survive over there now like that. That skin cancer will tear your ass up. You can't walk around over there with no clothes on like the ancient Egyptians did. They didn't have shirts on like that. They had clothes, but they were, they dressed for the environment. That melanoma would tear their ass up. What's up, love I am?
Bravo, 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 Tariq. Excellent. Excellent job
Hey,
with that one. That was good.
Lord. How you doing,
I'm
dear?
good. That was delightful to see. I just wanted to point out too that yeah, we got to keep calling out this logical fallacy because yeah, this is
Oh
getting
yeah.
ridiculous. But I was gonna say that I don't even think that they realize that by claiming Egypt, because that would make them Hamites. So that
Hmm.
would disqualify them too. I just wanted to say that because they say that Africans are Hamites, but if Cush was the son of Ham, so in order to be Egyptian, they would be Cushitic, and they would literally be Hamites. So they're all over the fucking place. I just wanted to know where they go once they get put down. Do they go back to the audience? Because they need to just stick around and get this free education. That's all I wanted to
Exactly.
say.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, dear.
Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, he's still in here. Yeah, they in here. He's gonna have to tweak his lie. He's gonna work on his lie a little bit because look. I want y'all to understand. These people know they're full of it. They know they're lying. They know better. They just hope we don't know. That's the thing. I want y'all to black folks to understand that when they say little goofy stuff like that, they know they're full of it. They just hope you don't know he's full of it. Yeah.
This is the 50th anniversary of hip-hop, and we still have a lot of discrepancies as far as the origins of hip-hop, a lot of claims, who did what, who was the first this, who was the this and that, and such. But at the end of the day, we need a definitive story, all right? And that story can only be told by the founders of this culture.
Like everything was being driven and influenced by young, black, American culture, like the slang, the style of dress, the initial music that we chose.
You look at all the boroughs, you got, Money Making Manhattan and Money Earning Mount Vernon and Crooklyn. The Bronx was the boogie down Bronx. We was partying up there.
I am Coke LaRock, the first MC of hip hop. First cat to pick the mic up.
I introduced rapping to the turntable because when I came with it, nobody in the world was doing it. I'm right after Rudy Ray Moore.
They want to come in the mix, they want to say, we started. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. What came to be known as hip hop was solely an African-American creation.
What you get out of some Jamaican toast? What is that? I've never heard of a rapper use a Jamaican toast or a Jamaican fleur as a rhyme. I never heard of it, and I don't know where that myth came from.
My name is legendary King Trixie from the Bronx, BX from the West Side. I am the first breakdancer.
That narrative that hip-hop has had 3 founding fathers, that's been rolling for the last almost 30 years, which isn't true. You don't have just 3 people who created hip-hop. Hip-hop was created by a number of different people.
I am the grandfather, the godfather of the graffiti culture. I am the first element of hip-hop.
The roots of hip-hop being Jamaican, absolutely false.
My name is MC Sha-Rock. I am a founding member of the MC/rap culture.
Cassette tapes was the internet of our time. It just traveled around by hand.
I know for a fact that the B-boy stand started from the gods, the 5%ers that would be at the jams back in the days who were acting as security.
If they get the real truth of how it all was created, then so many lies would not be able to be in existence.